Hi, and welcome to OverHERD at Career Education. OverHERD at Career Education is a new twice-monthly outreach from the Office of Career Education. Today, I'm joined by Kristin Sims from my office. Kristin, do you want to say hello?
Hi, y'all.
And we are going to be talking to you about basically skills that you can gain from a first-time job. Perhaps you're in high school, perhaps you're in college, or something like that. And I have to give credit where it's due. This idea was all Kristin, and I love it, and it's a great idea. And it's something I really want to discuss today. And I'll tell you why, because in nearly 5 years of working here, I've done about 11,000 resumes, or it feels like that, which is close to the whole student population if you think of it like that. But anyway, there have been a lot of resume meetings with students, and something when we talk about experience that students will say, it's something to the effect of, oh, well, it's only Taco Bell,
Yes.
It's only Speedway, do I put it on there, is it really worth mentioning? And the easy answer is yes, it is worth mentioning, because no, it is not just Taco Bell or Burger King or insert the food joint or gas station or store at the mall or whatever it
Family
is.
business.
Exactly. It's a wonderful training ground for you, and it's a place where you should start to be gaining those skills that future full-time employers are going to care about. So we've got a list here that we're going to kind of go over, and I feel like probably discuss them a little bit, maybe even interject with some of our own humor and stories and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and let you pick from the list first. Which one of these you want to dive into, Kristin?
Okay, well, when we were going through the list, I thought about something. It's called the bar method. Are you familiar?
The bar method. I almost said something really inappropriate regarding bars and college students, so we'll
setting you
move
up.
on. You are. So I'll just answer no, I'm not familiar with the bar method. Go on.
So the bar method is useful in interviews and also when you're writing your cover letter too, because the bar method stands for background, action, results. So
That's cool.
It's you telling a story to, a prospective employer in your interview about a time where you did something. You know how the questions, tell me about a time where you had to resolve conflict, for example. All of the things that are on this list are stories that could be incorporated into an interview to explain where you picked up that skill. So I thought that was really nice when we were going through this. So like an example,
excellent.
I know, right? It just came to me.
I love it. I really like that. And I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. I'm not sure it was
I
called
ain't
the
come up
bar
with it, yeah.
model, but no, I like it. It's easy to remember. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, which one of these do you want to dive into?
Okay, the one that I liked actually the most was organization.
Okay.
The reason why I like organization is because just the physical act of holding a job makes you become some level of organized, because you have to be able to manage your time, get there, do what you need to do while you're there before the business closes or your shift ends, and then you got to get home. And then whatever is going on at home, you've got to worry about that too. So you have to have some level of organization. And that's just another way that you can demonstrate to an employer that you were able to be organized because you did work 2 jobs while you were in college, or you did and maintained your GPA at the same time. So just literally holding a job can demonstrate organization to an employer. And that is an example of the bar method that you could tell an employer in an interview.
Absolutely. I really love that example. I think the organization inside and outside of work, because I think you made a really good point. You do have to have your whole life, not just your work life, but your whole life organized. And if your life is not organized, it will show up in your work life. Maybe not day 1 or day 2 of the disorganization, but you can't hold it together forever.
Yeah.
But I think organization, even at work, is very important, even in like a part-time job. And when I was reading through these, I was trying to think of examples to share. And for organization, when I was high school or early college, I'd worked it was a small family business. It was a restaurant, and I just remember like the drive-through rush hour and trying to keep like these drinks go to this car, where's this order of fries go, and having a system, and even something like that when it's very fast-paced. In a job like that, if you can if you can think about having some kind of a system in place and being able to share that with an employer, here's how I handled a busy rush hour, that can still answer the question to, tell me about your organizational skills. And that's something you can develop as a student too, but a lot of employers, they may want something a little bit more than, I kept a planner at school. And that's a wonderful thing, don't get me wrong, but if you can give a workplace example as well, that can be an even stronger answer. So.
Oh man, you reminded me. So my first job, high school, Blockbuster.
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 I was watching a movie the other night, not to totally derail things here. I was watching a movie the other night. It was Good Burger. I love the movie Good Burger. And in the background, I was like, guys, that's a Blockbuster video. And that shows us how old the movie is. There's a Blockbuster video in the background.
I was telling my kids, like, Blockbuster is a red box, but you can touch the movies. And you walk in a building, and they were like, what?
And you have to return them. Well, I guess the red box, you have to return them too.
True.
See, I'm just used to Netflix.
But I was thinking about the organization part because one of my first jobs was rewinding the VHSs.
There was a job doing that?
Yes, we had a super fast one, but so there was a huge stack. So when people returned them, they just went into like a bin, needs to be rewound. That's somebody's job, y'all. It was mine.
Well, where I grew up, they had a little sticker that said "Be kind." Rewind on them, so I guess just not everyone rewinds.
They weren't too kind on 8th Avenue.
That's sad.
That's the Blockbuster I worked
That's
at.
really sad.
But it's okay because I learned how to quickly transfer the materials, pick the movie up, put it in, have another one in my hand while I had the button pushing the button with my other hand, switching them out really fast. I mean, I had a whole system, and I was proud of myself.
That's good, and I think even a job like that, like I said, a restaurant, a Blockbuster, if you can have a system like that, I think your productivity will be higher, and that can not only I think open a door for maybe promotions while you're in school, but again, it can be accomplishments and you can tell an employer about when it comes time to apply to a full-time professional position. So, what about reliability? How important is it, do you think, for students to establish just that they're a reliable person through their job? And I think I know what the answer is going to be, but but if you want to tell us a little bit more about that.
I think it's very reliable, and I think it's suspect. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's suspect when a person says that they're reliable on their resume. I said it. Yes. The reason why I feel this way is because, okay, so, I have weird analogies. So this is like dating. If I am approached by a person and they're, they want to take me to dinner, for example, I would not stop them because I like to eat. But that's neither here nor there. But if they approached me and they said, hello, I'm a nice person, I promise I won't steal your money and I won't abuse you, and I'll treat you real good. You want to go on a date? All the little red flags went up. Why do you have to announce all of these things that you should be already doing?
Interesting.
So when I see on a resume that someone's saying, oh, I am trustworthy. You can trust me. But I don't have any evidence on that resume of where they had, been reliable or been trustworthy in a position. Where could you have gained that skill?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's something we do tell students to mark those skills on a resume, but what's kind of occurring to me, and I think this is where you're going with this, is that if you are trustworthy, if you are reliable, it'll be documented in other places on that document.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to. And I like your example, by the way. You shouldn't have to say, "Hey, I'm not a creeper. Come out with me."
Yeah. I promise. I promise I'm not. I won't hurt you. Will you love me? No.
So let the evidence speak for itself on the resume.
Exactly.
Good.
But I have another point too.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thanks. So my other point too is that by having this environment of reliability and fostering these good work relationships, you build networking potential and references, and that is how you get references.
Yep.
A lot of people don't have references because they sometimes show out on their way out the door. So it's still good to be reliable even up until the end.
It is, and honestly, it's to even take it a step further. I think you want to be careful what bridges you burn, because I've left positions before where I've wanted to say something not very podcast friendly, and we'll leave it at that, to either a supervisor and or at least one or two people who work there, and stuff like that. And that's an extreme example. Sometimes it may not be that extreme. It could be even just, well, I'm not going to show up the last 4 days I'm scheduled or something like that. And some of that stuff might feel good in the moment, but is or a couple minutes or even a couple days of, oh, well, I didn't have to go into work today. I mean, is that worth years and years of potentially having a bad reference? Because something I've noticed is that especially when you become a professional and you start working in fields, fields are kind of small. People know each other more than you might think. It really is, like the song says, a small world.
Yes.
So you don't want to be branded as any kind of a problematic employee, because it might be just you give weird analogies. I'm gonna give a weird analogy. One time when I was growing up, our dog got hit by a skunk, and it was hard to get that off there. It might be harder than that to try to shed a bad reputation.
Oh man, that's a good one. Yeah, just thinking before you even get in the room. We
Exactly.
already know about it. Oh, that's good.
Exactly. I like that. That's a vivid
Smell you before
imagery.
we can see you.
Yeah, I like it. You don't want to be.
Yeah, you don't want to be known like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
I have another story. I'll
Sure,
make it
sure.
short though. Okay, so I guess it'd be 2 years ago, since we almost lost a whole year to COVID.
Yeah.
So there was a job fair downtown. Were you there? It was a couple different employers, and they did it at the, the square.
Is it
downtown.
Pullman Square?
Yes. The
Yeah, about a year and a half, pushing
Yes.
2 years ago. I was there, and I got a terrible sunburn that day.
I was there too.
So.
See, look at that.
And look at me. I don't burn very easy, but it was right before I went to the beach too. I looked like Mr. Krabs when I left there that day.
Well,
but
I
anyway.
didn't see you. And your sunburn must not have been that bad. But I'm telling you this story because it was a job fair, so you were there, so you know the setup. Many employers that were there. So a young lady walks out of, what's the ice cream place?
Oh,
Cold Stone.
Yeah.
Apparently she quit at that moment or got fired. I don't know what happened, but I do know that she did curse out some people on her way out the door and said a lot of things. But this is where the situation gets strange. She walks over to where the job fair is going on, so these employers, and she's on the phone talking with someone, and she is letting them know what she just did, how she quit her job, the thing that she threw gummy bears. I'm obviously ear hustling this whole conversation because I was a little shocked. Like, you're being very loud, it's a public place, and you're actually in a job fair. So she's yelling on the phone, telling someone what just happened, and when she puts her phone away, then she turns around and says, I need a job. What do you have?
Director of Public Relations, of course.
So right there, she just demonstrated that she didn't have the reliability that was needed. She didn't have possibly the maturity,
the temperament,
just to maybe take a second. I don't know what happened in Cold Stone, but be aware of your surroundings. And I just have to say that she definitely burned that bridge with her references. But she also burned a bridge into employment because all that happened at the job fair. Did you happen to hear her yelling by any chance? Do you recall this?
I think I was looking for aloe at the time, to be honest. But no, it doesn't ring a bell. But if you say it happened, I totally believe
I have witnesses.
you.
It was just ironic because it's a job fair and you should be on your best behavior. And it was someone quitting a job at a job fair the wrong way.
Absolutely.
So it was definitely a lesson.
For sure. For sure. I can't. It's just one of those ironic, because like you could. I mean, there have been movies that haven't had that good of a plot line.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
That's how you know it's true.
Yeah. Exactly. So, which one of these do you want to jump into next?
I actually
nice little list here.
I know. I was looking at communication actually, because we were just kind of talking about that in the ways that you express yourself at work. And communicating, just learning how to work with a tough customer or a tough coworker, having that experience of going through it really does give you experience moving forward, and a good story for your friends sometimes.
Yeah, many good stories. I think I've got going back to the restaurant again. I have two stories. One's from the restaurant, and then one's a little more entertaining from the restaurant, and a little more practical of one where I've had to work on communication skills in a professional job. But when when I was at the restaurant, there was a lady. I just got off break, and I just went back to the drive-thru, and this lady came through, and what she said to me was, if I wanted chocolate water, I would have ordered it. And I was like, excuse me, because I'd been on break. I had no idea what was going on.
Right.
And it turns out she had a milkshake made a little bit more thin than she would have liked, a hot fudge milkshake, which what does hot fudge do to ice cream? You tell me. But I was like, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Would you like us to remake the milkshake? No. Would you like a refund? No. And I was like,
what are my options
here? And I think she just wanted to grouse about something, I think. And it's funny because I think she handed it to me and she drove off. And I've seen videos of people and I'm like, did it cross my mind to chuck it at the back of our car. Yeah, did I do it? Absolutely not. I would never dream of actually doing it. The closest I'd get would be to think about it and grin a little bit and go back to work. Closest I'd ever get to it.
But that's the thing, you didn't know until you experienced it, and then you learned, okay, I can control myself. Like, I may want to do something, but that doesn't mean I'm going to.
Yeah, absolutely. And really and you got to look at a situation like that too, an interaction like that. And is it personal? I was just the person unlucky enough to be at the window at the time. She would have said it, I'm sure, probably, and they may have gotten worse actually, because like I said, having being on break, I'm not the one that either took the order or made the milkshake. So someone else may have gotten a little bit more. But yeah, it wasn't personal. And if anything, kind of like you said, it's been 16 or so odd years, and it's just an amusing story. But as far as communication goes, one of the first full-time jobs I had in education was at a small business college. And one of the things I did was manage part-time faculty, and I really had to work on communication skills doing that, because one of the issues I ran into is, just think about it with me logically, when are all your part-time people there at the same time?
Right.
Hardly ever. So, and we're not a very technologically advanced school. So believe it or not, even in the year 2014, what I relied on a lot were paper memos. I think the Microsoft Word memo template was my favorite thing. And I did a lot of, and the teachers kind of told me I memoed them to death, but I had to keep them in the, and keep them in the loop with things. At one point in time, I started copying memos on bright orange and bright green paper. But it occurred to me I had to watch how I worded stuff, because I made that mistake. I worded things poorly and had half a dozen people over 2 days come to my office. What does this mean? What does that mean?
So you spend a lot of time clarifying.
I'd leave stuff off, and I'd have to have another memo part 2. And I'm like, well, this is just additional paper for their boxes.
The remix.
The remix. And are any of those really grave errors when it comes to a career? Probably not. But it's something, I think it kind of made me look more like a beginner. It made me not look like I had the touch that I would have liked.
You don't really want to annoy your new coworkers or coworkers that you're trying to work with. Long term, especially.
Right, exactly. And it's just a case of you're seeing not doing something with the precision that you could be. So I learned to, for instance, if I was getting ready to send a memo, unless it was something pressing, which I might just call them or something, keep it pulled up in the background on a computer for a day and add stuff to it. Watch how I word stuff. Watch those. I'm not an English teacher. Those dangling prepositions or whatever they are. I don't know what the term is. Watch that stuff and read a sentence and ask yourself, how many ways can this be taken wrong? And try to troubleshoot up front. That way you're not troubleshooting from the back end, because believe me, people will look at something, they'll read all kinds of stuff into something. So you really have to watch how you phrase stuff.
Oh man. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just thinking. I went back in time because you reminded me when you said watch how you phrase things. So I had a job working with like kids after school, and the elementary kids were cool. It was those middle schoolers. And there's one little boy, I can still see his face. I don't remember his name, but I can see his face. And this was over 14 years ago.
Wow.
That's how long he's been with me.
Been haunting you.
Yes. And there was a day where he had done something that he wasn't supposed to do. And at the time, I was annoyed with him because, you're misbehaving. Why are you misbehaving? Can you act right, please? And, he said something to me in anger, and I said something back to him in anger. And then we had to have a discussion with a mom.
Oh.
But to my credit, I did not get in trouble because I didn't say anything that was terribly bad. But do I feel bad about it? Yeah. Did I want to have the conversation with the mom? No. Luckily, it was all okay once I explained what happened with the mom. But with the maturity I have now, I wish I had handled that situation differently because, kids act certain ways because they need something. And that was a learning lesson for me. Now, as an adult, that you have to learn how to interact with people, even young people, young kids. And I learned a lot about myself, too, just working for that year in that after-school program.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think a way I try to tell, because I've taught business communication to students and things like that, and I know a principle I try to abide by is just everything you say and do, try to de-escalate a situation, not make. It's like if there's a fire, you can throw on water or you can throw on gasoline. Which one do you really want to throw on a fire? If it's a real fire, I don't know. I kind of like playing with fire. If it's a metaphorical fire, you better throw the water on. Another one I want to talk about here is resilience.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll probably, for anyone listening along, I'll probably include the article hyperlink when we post this to YouTube. That way you can read over it, because we're going to try to touch on most of these. For time's sake, we may not get to them all. But resilience, I'll tell a story about that. As the same job I had, I was doing reports and things for, they went to our accrediting agency in Washington, D.C. They were blocked from Union Station. So when I went into that job at 26 or so years old, I felt pretty cool, getting on the metro and riding a train up there to their Art Deco skyscraper, getting a security badge to go in the building, and really thought I was someone for a little bit. And I went and learned all this stuff and did a report. And they sent it back, and a lot of things on there weren't. They weren't incorrect, but they weren't done to their satisfaction. They're like, well, we need more information. They're like, it's not wrong, but they're like, you need to clarify this. And that actually happened like 2 or 3 more times. And some of it was, there's a backstory and all that, but a lot of it for me was being a two-time communication major and going to these trainings and having an impressive job for a 26-year-old, thinking, oh, hey, I can do anything. But then when you go and an accrediting agency flings a paper back at you so fast it just about will stick in you, it's a little bit humbling. And having the resiliency to bounce back from that and not have it be a huge pride destroyer or something like that, or not feel like you've been branded as a failure or anything like that, but okay, here's where we stand, what can I learn from it, how can I A, rectify the situation, but B, become a more competent professional in the process.
Yes.
So I don't know if you have any experiences with resiliency on the job, or
yes, every day of my life. Every day I had to fight.
Don't we all?
Every day. But not lately, because life is good right now.
That's right, and we love you, Chris, if you're listening.
That's right. This has been the best work of my life. But for real, it is a lot easier to work somewhere when you really want to be there. So I learned about resiliency through all those other jobs that I had that weren't exactly what I thought they would be once I started, or turned into something else that wasn't what I thought it was. But you stick with it because your parents wouldn't let you quit because you're an 80s baby, and that's not what we do. We persevere.
That's right. That's right. We were, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I still remember like field day when I was a pudgy kid and getting the I was going to say we were ahead of the participation ribbons, but no, I still had one. But
I don't recall. I think we had to fight I think we fought. The best man, woman win, the best child. But there was, it is a joke sort of, but like middle school, like getting through middle school, like I'm proud of myself for doing that. Like I'm proud of myself for working at the tax office when I graduated high school.
Oh, for sure.
And calling people to ask them when they were going to pay their debt to the, to the state or the city. That was not easy.
I'm sure there were some colorful conversations.
Yeah, there were. I never worked in a call center, but I have much respect for people that do. Just some jobs that are harder, like in healthcare. A lot of people just struggle because their job is physically demanding, or the time spent. So just your ability to stay in a position for an extended amount of time, that resiliency in itself speaks a lot to your character.
It does, and what I tell students here is I've been here going on actually just a month or two shy of 5 years, and I've by and large, or rather loved every moment of it. But have I had bad days in 5 years? Sure. If I had days where I wanted to storm out, and not very many here, as I've liked Marshall, but I know previous jobs I've had a number of those days, and it's like, part of me wants to kind of like the Cold Stone girl you described about 10 minutes ago, kind of have an episode like that, and I've been probably just about angry enough to do it, but it's like, no, after tempers die down, I still want to have a job tomorrow. Yes. I still have bills. I still have the Grim Reaper of student loans has found me. I can't shake him off. So so yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of just chalking up a bad day to being a bad day, going home and hot bubble bath, chamomile tea, whatever it is you like to de-stress and just
decompress,
and going back and doing it all again the next day. And a lot of times that next day can be rough, but you get through it. And the thing is too, if you ever have a job where you have a lot of those really bad next days, maybe it's time for a career change. But even your dream job, you will have some of those really bad next days.
That's right.
You have to check yourself before you wreck yourself, as they say, before you go back, and just
Yeah.
Yeah, Serenity Now, Seinfeld. Great technique. The last one, 'cause like I said, I'm keeping time in mind here. The last one I want to talk about is teamwork. And the reason I want to touch on teamwork is, of course, that's a NACE competency. And we've been talking about that with Career Rep Live, which is our other outreach. We've been talking about the NACE competencies a little bit. They've surfaced on the podcast here as well. But the reason I love talking about teamwork is when I go and do presentations, very frequently I will ask students, how do you feel about teamwork? Who loves a good team project? And probably 80 or 85% of the students do not raise their hand. You get one or two, and I don't know if they're being honest or if they just want to mess with me. I really don't know. But you'll get a couple that'll raise their hand. I might say something like, who dreads teamwork? And it just, the hands go up, and some of them, they're like, no, dude, I have stories to tell you.
Yes.
They're not content to just raise their hand. They want to tell you a story about a time they were in a bad
They're
teamwork.
triggered.
Yes, exactly. Very well put. But I tell them, and some of them look like they want to cry when I tell them this. I tell them, I was like, my career has been a never-ending group project.
Yes.
It has. The jobs changed, the players have changed, the tasks have changed, but that's essentially what a career is. It's a never-ending group project. Group projects I did in college, they look more like my day-to-day work life than anything else I did in school. I don't come here and bubble in answers and take tests every day. I don't come here and I do a little bit of writing. I don't write expansive research papers here every day. I do work in teams here every day.
But lots of collaborating.
Yeah, there is, and it's whether you like it or not. I mean, being part of a team, working in a team is just part of a career. If it's truly not your thing and you're not a people person, there are careers where it's involved a little bit less, some more, some less. But I don't think you ever escape it entirely.
You don't.
And being part of a team, it's a skill you have to have. So if you let me hear a teamwork story from you if you're
oh no,
if you're feeling spunky. you got one for me, or?
I'm trying to think. I mean, like you said, it's so like ingrained, and it happens. Okay, I have a teamwork story, and it's gonna have a twist at the end.
I like twists.
Okay, so at one time I was hired by this company who actually recruited me off of the internet. Like, I was shocked. Like, Career Builder, they contacted me, and normally those ththings don't seem to work out, but it really led to a legitimate job. So
cool.
I took a chance. I think that's on the list somewhere. And I went out of my comfort zone and I tried that. And in that position, I was I worked in a state office, but I wasn't a state employee, so I didn't actually have like an office to work in. So another person in the building was gracious enough to let me kind of rent a cubicle from them. I didn't have to pay anything, but they just housed me, So I did my job in a cubicle in their business. And while I was there, I ended up doing a little networking. And when my contract ended with the other job, I started working with the company that, team worked with me and allowed me to collaborate with them on some things. So that's how I ended up finding the next job. So that's your twist.
And I do like that. It kind of goes back to what we'd said several minutes ago about not building, or rather not burning bridges, because take a place like Marshall University, for instance. I mean, if you're put on a project, like a work group with someone, you never know, that person could be a positive reference for you for a future job in or outside the university.
Yes.
For instance, so teamwork it's a way to I think, to show a superior that you can get the job done and work well with people. It's a way to branch out, to make connections, and it's like anything else, any other opportunity out there. Just focus on the good in it. You will find people that aren't necessarily great to work with. What I found here working at this university, probably 95% of the people I've worked with have been fantastic, and in most cases, people I'm like, if I see them outside of work, I'm happy to see them. If I'm at Walmart, I don't jump into the other aisle. No, I'm like, oh hey, I know you from work. Yeah.
Oh no, I will hide. I will hide.
Hopefully not if you see me at Walmart, but anyway.
I stopped going to the Walmart, so there.
Actually, I kind of did too. But
okay.
Anyway,
I'll see you in the Kroger parking lot, and I'll wave.
There we go. But no, it's neat because I think opportunities and things I've done in 5 years here, I've made a lot of connections on campus. But yeah, and a lot of it teamwork. Another thing with teamwork is a lot of times we think of, oh well, it's always the other people who are the problem. But when it comes to teamwork, don't you be the problem. Don't you be the weakest link. It's like they're the ones listening. They're so young. Do they remember the TV show The Weakest Link?
I don't think so.
So there's a TV show. Google it. You don't want to be the weakest link.
Youngsters.
So, do you have any closing thoughts for us today, Kristin?
I think that ultimately our whole list is very thorough, and I like it. And also, I mean, you found it too, so I have to give them credit on the internets.
Absolutely. It is. It's called "What Skills Should I Learn for My First Job," which is exactly what you told me you wanted to cover today.
Yes.
And I really loved the article. Again, what I'll do is when we post this to YouTube, I will include a link to the article. So if you want to read some of the ones we didn't have time to get to, or if you want to just add a little bit more to what we've talked about, you'll be able to do that. But I want to thank everyone for joining us today on OverHERD at Career Education, and we hope to have you back here next time.
Bye.